Alyssa, and in today's video I'll be demonstrating how I painted this Monarch butterfly in acrylics. Now, quick background on this, why I decided to paint it at all and why it's maroon instead of orange. I am painting a mural on my wall. That's a Monarch butterfly, very similar to this one. I'm choosing maroon because that is the color of the accent walls on my room. So I was hoping to do a series of these butterflies throughout the room, and this will be the first or second, if you count the mural, that I am going to paint. So that's the quick backstory on this, and without further ado, here is today's demonstration. The first thing that I'm going to do here is start in on the background. Going into this, I knew that I wanted it to be gray and to have a bit of a rustic effect. So I'm using this brush to get a crosshatch look, and I also use some splattering white onto the background to add to that effect. That's pretty much all I did for this background. The next step was to sketch out the outline with a graphite pencil and start filling it in with just using pretty much a paint by number technique, meaning that I wasn't trying to get the perfect color or the perfect details or the perfect shading on the first try. I'm just painting it in solid, and then that way I have something to layer over and to add the details on top of. It serves as a foundation or a blueprint for what's going to go on later. This painting took about 2.5 hours to complete, which for me is pretty quick. I like to have shorter projects like this though, because sometimes the longer ones can get overwhelming and they end up hanging over my head after I get tired of working on them. So it was nice to have a short project like this. You can see there I've started outlining on the back wing, and the first layer of paint goes on looking pretty rough. You can see the background through, there's a lot of brush strokes, but that's the way that the painting process goes. The first layers aren't going to look great most of the time, and that's fine. The biggest thing that I would recommend is not having your paint go on too thick the first layers. You don't want a ton of brush strokes showing. You don't want big globs of paint that are going to be covered over later. Otherwise, that'll make it look little funky, especially if the globs were put in the wrong spot. If you had to correct that, you'll be able to see where your previous layers, the not so great ones, were. Now I'm doing a similar paint by number effect on the bottom wing. Now I'm adding in some shading with a little bit darker shade, and then I'm going to come in with a liner brush and work on these black lines. At this stage, you'll notice that there's a lot of black, and this black is going to be dotted over later with white spots. So why didn't I just put the white spots on and then go around them with black? Well, it turns out that doing it this way, with starting with all black and then doing the white over, saves a lot of time. Additionally, it helps the painting to look a lot more natural. If you paint around something, it's pretty easy to tell a lot of the time, especially in a background. If you were to outline your subject and then paint around it for your background, it's pretty obvious. You can tell that the brush strokes are going around it. It doesn't look natural. It should look like you painted a normal background, ignoring that there was going to be something in front of it, and then you painted over it, and it looks like your subject is over it, on top of it, and is not necessarily related to the background in the way that the brush strokes are flowing. So that's why you always paint the background first, and then draw your subject onto it second. Here I'm adding some highlights and extra details on the butterfly and those white spots on the head. That's kind of important. And anything else that I'm noticing I want to touch up on. Now, I decided that just having the butterfly looked a little too empty and plain to me, and I'd seen this technique before, or this effect before, of adding bubbles. And so I thought that'd be fun. I like painting bubbles. I thought it would add visual interest. Just to clarify, this butterfly is not drowning. It's not underwater. It's not fill in the blank. There just are bubbles there. Some of my family members had a hard time with this. So I was just doing it for fun, thought it added a cool visual effect. That's the only reason that there are bubbles there. After I add in those last two bubbles, that is it for this guy. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this demonstration.